Wonderful day, wonderful day, wonderful day. This is your neighborhood Sensei Fouché, telling all y'all stay woke, relax, and take notes. The power of now. Eckhart Tolle. This is our reference into the topic of finding you. Rediscovering the love you have. Yesterday, I was making reference to Jesus at the end of our conversation. We're speaking about a guide to spiritual enlightenment. Which basically breaks down to accomplishing, finding your highest self, your best self. Religion, Christianity, they say when you're in some form of distress or you're in some kind of life cycled chaos, and when you need help, the most common generic reference is you need to go find Jesus. I am telling you to find your true self and let it out. We're dealing with now. I don't know Jesus. I know who I am. There is so much questionable documentation into the existence or reference of Jesus the Christ, the Son of God. Now, one thing that I was referencing as well yesterday is being. And most of us in this common day is giving praise and power to a being, not into being, into. They are giving power to a being, towards a being, not in to being. And we wonder what the problem is, right? Go find Jesus. Don't go find yourself. Don't go find your true self. Don't identify deeply into the character that you created and how novice it is in controlling the role. I hope I didn't get too deep for y'all. I started jotting down some references, and this is a little bit deeper than this generic, or not even generic, but this basic conversation, or not even basic, because this is deeper than the generic or the basic. But if we would go deeper into the rabbit hole of references, and we're not going to specifically cover this, but I also started researching, and I've researched this in past yesterdays, but have a greater grasp on this using this Adlerian psychology. And we're going to get more into the book in a second, you know what I'm saying? Because there's references, of course, in following that are in everyone's common understanding. Like the dialogue and how it's wrote, there's no way that you can't connect the dots, you know what I'm saying? Like, we should be, at least in higher level schooling or collegiate schooling, instead of still dealing with elementary. And even more so, we still have folks that are kindergartners. You'd be lucky if you start to entertain middle schoolers. But a lot of us are elementary. So I started looking into Ra, and we're not going to cover this right now because this is beyond, you know what I'm saying? But if I speak of Ra, I'm thinking of your true self. You know what I'm saying? When I'm looking at and researching Set, who is the brother of Ra, I call that the conscious. And then if we were to go into Horus, and this is Horus before actually discovering, before discovery, beyond or past the time of manipulation, Horus represents the unconscious. But that's a theology for a later time. We ain't even about to get too deep into that. So I was saying in reference before about being instead of to worship a being. Right? Into being or to a being. So you see I have the shirt, and you're probably gonna reference like, yeah, it's not true. And I'm about to hit you with something, and I'm gonna hit you 2 times. And this is metaphoric, not literal. I'm gonna hit you with the knowledge and the question. or the seed or the thought. What if I told you, each of you, in your individual self and submerged deep within and lost is God? Each of us are God, or we are being. The role character that we have created, or the evil that is created and further developed, is the devil. The evil devil. You are God and the devil. You can create your everlasting heaven on earth, or burn on the same earth within hell. Heaven and hell. You are God and the devil, except God is submerged and the devil rules your movements, your thoughts, your feelings, your programming. We ended up stopping yesterday. Thinking has become a disease. Disease happens when things get out of balance. Dis-ease. It is not so much that you use your mind wrongly. You usually don't use it at all. It uses you. Your devil side has your autopilot doing its insecure movements. This is the disease. You believe that you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken you over. This character has become so comfortable in its role that it decided to be you. Because the true self decided to lose itself within the confusion created by the manipulation of insecurity. Can you be free of your mind whenever you want to? Have you found the off button? The mind is using you. You are unconsciously identified with it, so you don't even know that you are its slave. I mean, I was just telling y'all this verbatim in just before, and now, you know what I'm saying, I'm in reading mode. And there's a list of books moving forward that is going to identify into the same psychology of now. Not yesterday, now. The age of Pisces is old. What is believing done for you? Believing in Jesus, believing in God, you know what I'm saying? A God. Not into being. This is the age of knowing, to know. Aquarius. What do you know? I ask everybody all the time, who are you? And they're like a deer in headlights. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, yo, I never really thought about it like that. I'm like, yo, if you really don't know who you are, then how do you expect for people to identify who you want them to identify you to be? Or even more than that, honor you. You don't even know who you are. Who are they going to honor? What, the role character? He's running around like a darn clown, a jester. He ain't trying to honor him. He's a fool. It's almost as if you were possessed without knowing it, and so you take the possessing entity to be yourself. The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the possessing entity, the thinker. Knowing this enables you to observe the entity. The moment you start watching the thinker, a higher level of consciousness becomes activated. You then begin to realize that there is a vast realm of intelligence beyond thought. That thought is only a tiny aspect of that intelligence, or what you thought you knew. The minute you identify yourself, your character self, as evil, as the devil, and you get tired of following the devil, then you will begin to seek your being. Not a being. Seek your being. Not some fantasy guy in the clouds or in the sky or in the mist or in the wind. I don't know where the heck this guy's supposed to be at. You know what I'm saying? Father in heaven, where's that at? You know what I'm saying? Astrology tells me there's a universe with a bunch of stars, which are planets beyond in other galaxies, and we're in this solar system. So there's other planets and moons and stars within our sun or solar construct. Freeing yourself from your mind. Watching the thinker. You need to really observe this character, see how goofy it is, and be through. Well, you like running around with problems because you're your own problem first. So when you solve your own problem, then all these other problems will not be interesting and easy to dismiss. When someone says, I hear a voice in my head, everyone hears a voice or several voices in their head all the time, right? I think out loud. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't like to keep them voices in my head. So out in the streets, they're like, yo, are you talking to yourself? And I'm like, I'm thinking out loud. But absolutely, call it whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? But those voices, I know exactly what they are and why they are communicating. The involuntary thought processes that you don't realize you have the power to stop. Continuous monologues or dialogues. Like I just said, I know and can identify what those voices are and why and control them. The true self is back in control, and these characters are very minimal. They're just sub-characters now. I done took over the main role. The true self is in the main role, and all the rest of them are just supporters. I don't have the darn clown as the main character. He ain't JJ from Good Times. You know what I'm saying? You have come across mad people in the street muttering to themselves. That's not different from what you and all other normal, quote unquote, people do, except that you don't do it out loud. I do. The voice comments, speculates, judges, compares, complains, likes, dislikes, and so on. The voice isn't necessary, or I should correct myself, the voice isn't necessarily relevant to the situation you find yourself in at the time. Those are just basically a bunch of goofy clowns that are going to give you excuses to continue to live within your own filming of your own comedy. It may be reviving the recent or distant past, or rehearsing or imagining possible future situations. Like basically just kind of losing yourself in space and being a little kid and just kind of, wishing it all away, or just wishing something to be that can't be, because you are in clown jester character control. Here it often imagines things going wrong and negative outcomes. This is called worry. Even if the voice is relevant, it will interpret in terms of the past. This is because the voice belongs to your conditioned mind, which is the result of all your past history, as well as of the collective cultural mindset you inherited. Prejudices. You know what I'm saying? All of these segregative thoughts and ideas on separation and manipulation and gossip. You see and judge the present through the eyes of the past and get a totally distorted view of it. We still going, you know what I'm saying? Because time is what we choose for it to be. You know what I'm saying? Right now, we in the now. As you go more deeply into the realm of no mind, you realize the state of pure consciousness. The more that you let go of that goofy character, the more you identify and realize how much power you can have, how much control you can have. Not a selfish, but a selfless state. It takes you beyond what you previously thought of as yourself. The clown, you identify him as the clown. You don't even respect him. You know what I'm saying? When your true self takes over, it becomes a love story, not a comedy. Oscar nominated type stuff. Instead of watching the thinker, you can also create a gap in the mind stream, simply by directing the focus of your attention into the now. Just become intensely conscious of the present moment. Focus on the moment. Deal with the moment until that moment is through. You know what I'm saying? Then move on. Take control of the moment. Master the moment. Don't neglect the moment and hope for another moment to add or fix that moment. Deal with the moment. Learn to disidentify from your mind. Disidentify, move away from the character, from the clown. Every time you create a gap in the stream of mind, the light of your consciousness grows stronger. The more that you decide to push that clown, that jester, into the subordinate role, then your true self becomes more and more able instead of disabled. You create your own disability. You don't have to be disabled. You don't need the crutch. One day you may catch yourself smiling at the voice in your head as you would smile at the antics of a child. Right? That's what it says right here. You'll smile at it at like the antics of a child. One day you may catch yourself smiling at the voice in your head as if you would smile at the antics of a child. Your true self will be laughing at that character, that jester, that clown. This means that you no longer take the content of your mind all that seriously, as your sense of self does not depend on it. You don't need to be goofy and a goofball and look like a clown and talk like a clown in order to garner the attention or the validation of those that don't matter. Yo, this is some hard stuff, man. Y'all ain't even really understanding. We're going to have to cut this into a fourth part, but we're still going to go on a little bit more because, this is serious. As you grow up, you form a mental image of who you are based on your personal and cultural conditioning. We may call this phantom self, the ego. Phantom self, character self, ego. It consists, and I know you all heard of that word ego. So we connect in the ego, the egotistical person, as the role-created self based on your insecurities or fear. Simple word. It consists of mind activity and can only be kept going through constant thinking. Worry. Ego. It means a false self created by unconscious identification with the mind. To the ego, the present moment hardly exists. It can't focus on the moment. It's so filled with worry. It's like a little kid like, oh, please let it go away. Please let it go away. Please let it go away. Only past and future are considered important. What happened before I'm in this trouble and thinking about the soonest way or moment after this trouble instead of focusing on committing to the trouble and acknowledging the trouble to be able to move forward and no longer deal with that specific trouble. It is always concerned with keeping the past alive, because without it, who are you? What used to be. It was all good before. Now you're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? But without, being considered, good or worthy through the validation of someone else who you deceived, then you're confused. It constantly projects itself into the future to ensure its continued survival and to seek some kind of release or fulfillment there. It says, one day when this, that, or the other happens, I am going to be okay, happy, at peace, even when the ego seems to be concerned with the present, even when it pretends to be concerned with the present. It is not the present that it sees. It misperceives it completely because it looks at it through the eyes of the past, what used to be. Or it reduces the present to a means to an end that always lies in the mind projected future. Well, if we don't deal with this, it'll be okay just like we were before. You know what I'm saying? How that sound? After we get through this moment, next couple of passages, let's keep going. The predominance of mind is no more than a stage in the evolution of consciousness. The predominance, or the weaker version of you, is no more than a stage and back into your true self. We need to go on to the next stage now as a matter of urgency. Every moment can be a moment before there is no moment, which can be at any moment. Otherwise, we will be destroyed by the mind, which has grown into a monster. Thinking and consciousness are not synonymous. Thinking is only a small aspect of consciousness. Thought cannot exist without consciousness, but consciousness does not need thought. Woo! Marinate on that for a minute. Thinking and consciousness are not synonymous. Thinking is only a small aspect of consciousness. Thought cannot exist without consciousness, but consciousness does not need thought. Consciousness just is. Thought is a byproduct of consciousness. Enlightenment means rising above thought, not falling back to a level below thought, which is basically just the puppet. The level of an animal or a plant. Enlightenment means rising above thought, not falling back to the level below thought, the level of an animal or a plant. No mind is consciousness without thought. Thought alone, when it is no longer connected with the much vaster realm of consciousness, quickly becomes barren, insane, destructive. The mind is easily a survival machine, attack and defense against other minds, gathering, storing, and analyzing information, but it is not at all creative. All true artists, whether they know it or not, create from a place of no mind, from inner stillness. And I have a long history of creating poetry, lyrics, beats, instrumentals, and I can tell you for sure. And anyone that is a fellow creator, tell me that this makes sense. When you create, don't you have to eliminate all distractions and go deep within your thought to motivate to the specific degree of creating a specific piece of art? Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. Shh. Yo, be quiet, man. I'm trying to focus on creating this line. I don't want to lose it. Ayo. Go in another room because I am deeply in process of creating this masterpiece. Stillness. This is your neighborhood Sensei Fouché, telling all y'all to stay woke, relax, and take notes. Tomorrow's another day to cover more into this chapter 1 and identifying your true self and throwing away that clown. We need to make that dude a role, what would we call it? You got your main character and you got your supporting actors. You know what I'm saying? He needs to be a distant supporting actor. You know what I'm saying? Your true self needs to control the show and create this beautiful love story. And forget that comedy that has been your life for as long as you can remember. Jesus ain't gonna find you, but you are gonna learn how to rediscover your true self. On that note, I'm gonna tell y'all to be smooth. 1.